My grandpa always told me sometimes life isn't fair, but you make your decisions based on what life gives you. And that's something that I've carried with me growing up because it is a constant reminder to me to always strive for my goals and achieving what I want in life. Working part-time straight out of high school really set my goals aside and kind of set me back. I wasn't focused as much as I wanted to be, and I feel that a lot of times that's a lot of things that we all have in common because, we're always just stressed out with other things and not focused on what we should be. Although I was working all the time, going back to school was a really big dream for me, and I always kind of pushed myself to get back in there. I always dreamt of being a marine biologist and working with animals, so I just try to continue to push myself to do that. As I said before, I was really focused on other things in school, and I feel that's a lot of the things that we have in common, but if we continue to push ourselves and remind us of what's important, I feel that we could all do it. I've loved the ocean ever since I was little, and my parents always pushed me to follow my dreams. I had to make a lot of sacrifices, balancing school, work, and somewhat of a social life, but I always reminded myself that it would all be worth it in the end. Graduating high school was a really big accomplishment for me, and I continued and wanted to go further in my education. The purpose of my speech is to show you how you can overcome any obstacle, and if you set your mind to it, you can overcome anything. So with that being said, I will first talk about why I chose Citrus College. Next, I will discuss what my major is, and lastly, I will talk about how I will use my major to change the world. So to start off, why did I choose Citrus College? My best friend of 16 years, she started Citrus College right out of high school, so watching her go to school was a really big inspiration for me to get back out there and just do it already. In addition, my mom is a really big motivator for me, and she knew how much I was struggling to get back on my feet because, as I said before, I was working straight out of high school, so I worked for 2 years until I finally decided that it was time to get back out. According to my mom, on January 13, 2019, she motivated me to go to college because she wanted me to have a better education and more opportunities than she did and go far with my education. She never had her parents motivate her when she was younger or her siblings to go to school, so she wanted me to have more opportunities than she did. Now that I discussed why I chose Citrus College, I will next discuss what my major is. My major is marine biology. Being at the beach, watching documentaries, watching underwater expeditions, seeing pollution and the extinction rates go up, it really, really motivated me to just major in it because it's what I'm most passionate about. I asked my sister, Virginia, on January 13, 2019, how she thinks my major can help change the world, and she said because without marine biologists, we wouldn't know what's happening underneath the ocean surfaces. She feels that it is also important that we all know what we can do to help conserve the ocean and the marine life, and she thinks it's important that we have marine biologists in the world. So now that I discussed what my major is, I will next discuss how I will use my major to change the world. So I personally want to help educate people on what we can do to stop pollution and to help just reduce the amount of trash that's on the beaches. I'm sure you've all seen plastic just floating around. And it honestly really breaks my heart because our environment affects all of us. And I feel that it's something that we should all help take part of. I also want to help coral reefs re-flourish because we get a lot of our natural resources from the ocean. Now that I discussed that, let's wrap this speech up. First, I talked about why I chose Citrus College. Secondly, I talked about what my major was. And lastly, I discussed how I would use my major to impact the world. Getting back into school was really tough for me. I fought a lot of battles, as many of us do. I got knocked down a lot of the time. It wasn't always fair, but I made my decisions based on what life gave me, like my grandpa told me, and I'm living proof today as all of us are. So thank you.